Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu suspends 5% tax on telecom services, import tax on vehicles. But how will that affect the common man? Well, in that process, here is what is about to take place. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu suspended the newly introduced green tax through excise tax on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles. The president has also signed an executive order suspending the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services, as well as excise duties escalation on locally manufactured products. Now, Dele Alake, the special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy, released a statement on Thursday that Tinubu also ordered the suspension of the import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles. The statement noted that Mr. Tinubu issued these orders to ameliorate the negative impacts of the tax adjustment on businesses and chokehold on households across affected sectors. Now, the statement also noted that Tinubu's administration has since noticed that some tax policies are being implemented retroactively with their commencement dates, in some instances predating the official publication or the relevant legal instruments backing the policies. Alake said such a lacuna has created some challenges in implementation. Now, of course, in order for us to actually have this conversation this morning, we have an APC stalwart joining us virtually, all right, in order for us to understand precisely what it means for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signing that particular order yesterday. And that is in person of Ebitimi Angbari, an APC stalwart. Good morning, Mr. Ebitimi. Good morning. If you can hear me, please kindly indicate that you can hear me. Or you can actually unmute your mic. I think that way I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibitimi. So, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did something that a lot of people said is quite a relief, which is basically the signing of the orders to relieve some taxes in the telecommunication sector, import duties, especially for vehicles, and of course, suspending the newly introduced green tax through excise on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles. What's your take on this particular development?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning.
Right. The whole idea is to fulfill a promise, the promise of serving the people according to the rules of the land, according to the promise he made when he said that he will remove every obstacle that makes it difficult for people to do business in Nigeria. Okay, so that's basically at the bottom of this decision.
Mr. Abisabi, can you kindly increase your volume? We can't really hear you properly.
Oh, really? Can you hear me now? Am I good?
Okay, it's
okay,
better now.
The whole idea, the whole idea is to serve Nigerians according to his promise. He has promised that he will make life meaningful for Nigerians. He will make business. It will make it easy for Nigerians to do business. He promised that he will govern according to the rule of law. So some of these orders were signed, and caused to come into effect when it was still not time. The law says 90 days before you introduce any new law. You must have it. It must be for 90 days before it comes to effect. But in what we saw, in the past government, it was just done in a hurry. So he has just addressed those issues, the lacuna, the laws that were not kept, the principles that were not followed. He just kept to those principles, and again, to make it easy for Nigerians to do business.
Okay, so we know that during former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, these were some of the issues that we were, business owners were contending with. Some policies that seem to stifle the business activities and even investment activities that took place here. Do we? What would we see this particular order helping in terms of alleviating the business environment, in terms of unstifling the stiffer measures that were already in place, and possibly encouraging business opportunities and investment opportunities here?
That is the whole idea. That is the whole idea. You know that it also addresses the issue of multiple taxation.
Yes.
And this is one problem that people complain about. This one now streamlines the way you pay your tax. And when you pay one tax, it covers it. I mean, before you have to do local government, you have to do state, you have to do federal, and it's not good for business. But this one streamlines, it helps you to know the direction you pay your tax, and you know that you are paid just one tax that will allow you go into your business, and you don't have a problem with that. So these are the benefits. Every obstacle that will make it difficult for people to do business. The whole thing is about rejigging the economy. And if you want to rejig the economy, you must remove these obstacles. You must make it easy for people to go into business and prosper. The whole idea of going into business is to prosper, is to make profit. And so if there is no guarantee that you will make profit, then why go into business? So this is just to clear the path, even as we walk towards the next phase, which will be like, access to credit, so that people can go into business and meaningful ventures.
All right. Now, critics have actually termed this particular activity of the president yesterday as propaganda. There have been also some cartoons which have been that the current administration is literally squeezing out the last blood on Nigerians concerning, the increase in pump price, that is the complete removal of subsidy, and how we have prices on goods and services that have actually increased. We have domestic items no longer affordable as they used to be, and possibly made a drop in the purchasing power of a lot of Nigerians. And they say possibly this particular gesture that he did is just a way to put aside the views of Nigerians, or put aside the hardship or the process through which they've been going to cope. Would you believe with that particular train of thought? Would you actually,
No.
think in line
No.
with that train of thought?
No, not at all. If the obstacles are removed and you go into meaningful ventures, go into business, the whole idea is to make profit. And if you make profit, if you keep making profit, you definitely know that you will pay yourself out of whatever challenge you are having. You have money to pay yourself out of, to spend, so that you don't find yourself in a fix. But when there is no business, when you have difficulty in doing business, your problem increases. So this idea is just to open up the space, make it easy for you to. In fact, some of this, the taxes, the period of commencement has even been deferred. So it's not something that will take off immediately. Some of these measures will start from sometime around September, October, November.
Mr. Ebitumi, where does the common man come in this particular development?
September,
we do
October.
know that it is the business environment works for those who already have something substantial that they're into, something substantial that they have built. Where does the common man come into play in this particular order signed by the president yesterday?
Hello.
Mr. Ebitumi, can you hear me?
That? Hello?
Yes. Did you hear the question I asked?
Now, yes. No, please repeat it.
I said, where does the common man come in this particular development, this order signed by the president yesterday? The common man that may not actually have the business to run, that may not actually have the investment, opportunity whereby this could help, where does it place the common man? Because the common man does more purchasing or possibly more of retail sales. Where does the common man come
Yes,
into that play?
even the common man comes in, you know, in fact, the focus, the target of this law, of this executive order, is the common man. It's to make it easy for the common man to aspire to go into business. It's to make it easy for the common man to upscale. Okay? You say he's a retailer. Perhaps he was doing small business. This encourages him to do more business, bigger business. So the common man is the target of this is the one to benefit the most from this ease of doing business. All these laws, all these orders were signed, to promote ease of doing business. And the common man is the one to gain. The common
How
man is the one to
how
gain.
how quick is this implementation meant to commence? How quick? Now, immediately as the president signed it, or possibly in the next 1 month or 2 months?
Some of them have to take off because 90 days. If the law says that for you to introduce a new law, tax law, it has to be for a period of 90 days.
Okay.
So some of these ones will take off from like say October. You know, October. They just defer the date of commencement. Okay, so you find out that within this period, it has created a window for you now to adjust and to know what is coming. So instead of just rushing into it, as the other orders that were signed by Mr. former President Muhammad Buhari, these ones prepare your mind, prepare you for what is to come. So these taxes, when they come into effect, as I said earlier, it eliminates multiple taxation. Multiple taxation is one problem that Nigerians have always been complaining about. But this one helps you to take care of. This takes care of that and makes it easy for people to do business.
Okay, so in terms of making it easy for people to do business, could it be business in some sectors? Possibly maybe telecommunication, those who are into plastics, those who are into, yes, plastic distribution, plastic making, or is this order involved in, is this order for any business activity, any business whatsoever? Is it just for certain segments
True.
of businesses or certain types of businesses that this order actually takes place?
Every business,
Every
every business
business.
that has to do with taxation. It covers every business. You don't have to pay at one level, pay again at the other level for the same for the same business. So it covers the whole space.
It's interesting when you raised this particular question, because we actually have a lot of challenges in our business environment that Nigerians have been complaining about in terms of security, right? Security, and of course, when it also comes to government helping to sign off on some of these order papers before people can commence their business. Don't you think that security should have been one of the first things the president would have really, put his feet on or signed up on beyond this particular multiple taxation? Because if the environment is not safe enough for anyone to run their businesses, they will definitely run at a loss.
The issue of security received attention immediately Mr. President came on board. Rejigging the security architecture was one of the first things he did. Today we have a new national security advisor. We have new service chiefs, and we've started seeing results already. You remember that the kingpin of the kidnap kingpin in Zamfara, one Dogo, and his team have been eliminated. So that's a clear sign that these new service chiefs and the NSA have come to address the security issues in Nigeria. So I think that is already, we're seeing signs already, and we'll see more. We'll see more because from the antecedents of these people, the new service chiefs, Christopher Musa, the TDS, Lagbaja, and all of them. It is clear that these are people who will not allow criminals to occupy any space in Nigeria. So that is already being addressed. Mr. President has sent a clear signal that he means business. He wants to, like, just as the NSA said, we want to stabilize Nigeria. We want to have our lives back. We want to have peace in Nigeria. So it's a clear signal that they mean business, and we're seeing the result already.
For the common man, basically, I think all the common man needs is these measures, this order signed, right? How will it reduce the bills they pay? How will it reduce electricity bills for them? How will it reduce, possibly some domestic bills so that they're not spending so much, in taxes and being able to save and eat and feed and go about their businesses. I think that's basically what they want to understand. They don't necessarily know what the protocol is as to what this order signifies in terms of reducing multiple taxation. Do we see that implemented? Do we see the measures being implemented for the bills in terms of bill reduction?
Yeah. First of all, you need to encourage your citizens to take up meaningful ventures. If your citizens are not encouraged, they will not. They will not. If the whole idea of going to do business is to lose all your gains, by paying multiple tax, there is no encouragement there. So the whole of this idea is to encourage people to do business. Okay, I know that I will make profit in this business. I know that I'm not going to work for the government by or some agencies of government. I'm going to work to make profits. It will encourage us to begin to think of because one thing is a lot of people sit back and they don't have things to do. So but this one will help the informal sector. People will put themselves together and begin to do things, meaningful ventures that will make them, make their lives better. So that's the whole idea. It will encourage them to do business.
Mr. Ebitobe, let's look at the freight forwarding, would I say, association in Nigeria. For example, they've always complained about having to clear their goods at the port, whether Apapa Port or the one in Warri and the one in Port Harcourt, where the excise duties they had to pay is so huge. It's tantamount to almost the exact money they used in purchasing the item at the wharf. Will this actually help, in terms of the excise duties they pay to clear most of their goods at the port? Mr. Ayutimi.
Hello. Sorry.
Did you hear? Yeah. Okay. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I can
I
hear you
asked?
now. Yeah.
Okay. So did you hear the question I asked?
I didn't hear you land.
Okay,
I did not hear you land, but I heard the early part of the earlier part of it.
Okay, so I asked, I said, the clearing and forwarding, that is the Freight Forwarders Association. One of the problems, those persons who import, basically importation via the sea, right? When it gets to the wharf, there's the excise duty they pay to clear. One can almost call it triple taxation in that. Sometimes the money is even possibly almost more than how much they use to purchase the items that they need to clear. Now, this order that the president actually signed, would it actually alleviate that, the multiple excise duties they have to pay in clearing their goods at the wharf?
True. It will. Definitely it will.
It will. How soon?
Will, because
now or within 90 days? Are we going to begin to see the effect of that? Or
within the period that the law has envisaged, okay? This order has envisaged, within that period, it will be addressed. Everything that has to do with multiple taxation will fall under this law and this order and will receive attention.
All right. Yeah. Still on that, do you see politics going to play? Most of the custom officers at this particular wharf gain a lot when it comes to this multiple taxation. Now, there are stages that you have to pay money to clear your goods, and if you don't pay that, it will literally be left there to rot, and if not, possibly sold at very ridiculous prices. They will auction your whatever it is you wanted to get out of it. Do we see the customs actually adhering to this? Because that's another thing here. The government can make orders, can make policies. The problem is implementation, and individuals who are meant to implement it not implementing it, possibly due to personal favors or whatever it is they've been gaining from it. So customs and excise, we have custom officers who are meant to implement these custom duties, implement the order that the president has signed. Do we see them respecting this development? Because it will be a slash on whatever profits they've been getting when it comes to persons carrying out their stuff at the wharf.
One thing that is new with this government is that this government has special advisor on revenue.
Okay.
Okay, and so you can be sure that the special advisor on revenue will be will go around, and look at issues that affect revenue generation. You understand? Because what you are saying is it's these are the things that affect revenue generation. So
Okay.
we have somebody who is advising the president on revenue generation. So where there are hiccups, where there are things that will affect revenue generation, definitely we'll fix them. And this is one major thing you just highlighted. If businessmen are finding it difficult to clear their goods, if they are asked to pass through the eye of the needle, to bring out their goods, then it will definitely discourage importation. So except that this is the standard, because there are some things, some levies have been put there to discourage importation of some items.
Yes.
Okay, if you are importing an item that receives high tariff, high levy, you have no choice. You have to do so, because the whole idea is to discourage you from bringing them in the first place. Apart from those issues, anything that has to do with revenue, improving our revenue generation, I'm sure the essay on revenue will not sit back to allow opportunists frustrate the government from generating the set targets.
All right. Ever since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually signed this, I think this order signing came up yesterday. That was when we actually got
Yeah.
the feeler, and like I initially asked you, a couple of people did not actually believe it. They found it difficult to believe that with the way things have been lately, since the removal of subsidy, people are trying to cope with the subsidy shock, and that's the subsidy removal shock. That's one. Two, we've seen that inflation has occurred. Prices have gotten inflated. Buying and selling is no longer as usual, but people definitely must survive, especially in a state like Lagos. How will this
Yeah.
particularly make the common man believe that this is possibly to benefit them? How would they actually believe this?
I think with time, because one good thing about the policy of Aswaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Mr. President, is that Nigerians are willing, to give him the benefit of the doubts. You understand? From the moment subsidy was removed, Nigerians had allowed the process to flow. You understand? Look, we didn't see that resistance. So this one is even a plus for them. What is supposed to happen now? They say, no, I'm deferring it. You understand? I'm deferring it to even the tax that you're supposed to be paying now. No, 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 that people are started complaining about. So he moved it forward just to create room for these palliatives, to permeate the system. The palliatives that the government is putting in place, the palliatives that state governments are also putting in place, to permeate the system before we start to take more money from our people. So this is a step in the right direction.
All right, there are also instances, for example, during the president's inaugural broadcast, he mentioned areas through which there'll be palliative measures, to cushion the effect of, subsidy removal. He mentioned transportation. He actually mentioned, yes, transportation, education, and agriculture. Now, Nigerians are asking for the prices of food, at least domestic items, food, the levies placed on food items to be reduced, so that even in as much as we're coping with the subsidy removal shock, we can have access to buy food. We can actually buy food. Does this order also come in play with that in terms of reducing the levies placed on food items, food consumables?
Well, they for food, one thing that will definitely bring about improvements in the or more food for get us to the point where we'll have more food for our people is to ensure that our farmers can go back to farm.
Okay.
Our farmers can go back to their farms, and that's why you can see the steps being taken to address insecurity challenges. So when farmers look at like what the governor of Borno did, 3 days back or so, he bought vehicles. He locks vehicles that will help to take farmers to their farm and bring their produce to town. You understand? These are the measures because when you eliminate that difficult movement of goods, you eliminate the difficulty the farmer faces bringing food from his farm, bringing produce, agri produce from the farms to the market. You are definitely you're definitely cutting down the price of food. So governors and state actors are making sure that they reduce the costs of movement of food. So as we do this, definitely you will see reduction in the prices of food. So that determination. One thing is that we must applaud is determination to support, the determination to reduce, to solve this problem, and we are seeing that happen in many places. So the federal government is cooperating with state governments to ensure that they bridge these gaps, and when these gaps are bridged, you will see reduction in cost of food items.
All right, Mr. Iwetimi, thank you so much for staying with us right here on this particular segment. We do appreciate your input on it.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Now, Twitter says it could bring a lawsuit against Meta for creating an app that had the ability to upset the Apple car. We'll get into details of that in a moment.